Today we're going to talk and dive into the world of essential oils. When you are finished, hopefully you can walk away with knowing what an essential oil actually is, how to use it, whether you use it aromatically by smelling it or topically by wearing it, even some internal usage, walk away with some safety and dilution techniques. Typically, anytime somebody has any type of negative reaction, it usually is because of something simple, because of dilution or not wearing a carrier oil, and things that we'll get into a little bit more in depth. Hopefully you'll be able to walk away with a couple of oils and their therapeutic benefits. What specifically would you use an essential oil for at which different times? And then of course, establish reputable places and sources and tools to find information. I think everybody is aware that when we type in something on Google, we're not necessarily getting a response that is reliable. So one of the things that we do is we not only educate you, but we point you in the right direction of where to find good education. So what are essential oils? When you walk past a plant and you smell that aromatic compound, that is the essential oil. They are very concentrated, and the reason is because they're usually either steam distilled or cold pressed extracted, and this just allows for a lot to go in a very small bottle. So 1 or 2 drops per application is really all you're going to need. They have powerful, safe benefits, often without harmful side effects. We always put that often in there because just because something's natural doesn't mean that it can't hurt you. You could walk through poison oak. We can have, negative reactions to lots of different things. Remember, opioids come from plants, right? They're physiologically active, meaning that they directly influence the body. This really allows them to work almost immediately, and we'll talk a little bit about that. It typically takes anywhere between 20 seconds and 2 minutes to start getting a response from an essential oil. And because of their unique structure and their size, they're able and capable of doing some things that sometimes medicines fail at. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. The body actually recognizes essential oils as food, so they're typically metabolized through the body. What that really means for us from a usage standpoint is that it's going to metabolize through the body quicker than an RX medication. It typically has a shorter half-life, so frequency is key when you're using essential oils, especially when you're using them topically. Every 3 to 4 hours is usually the recommendation that we use. So what do they do? What are their jobs? Inside of a plant cell, they have several jobs, and one of them is to attract pollinators. We're kind of aware of this. If you think about bees or hummingbirds or butterflies, they're attracted to the scent of that essential oil, which really plays a part so that they're able to disperse the seeds and continue on, right? They're also there to prevent competing vegetation from happening or from planting around them. They serve as defense compounds against insects and other animals. They are highly antifungal, antibacterial, and antiviral in nature. So that really they serve as the immune system of the plant. And they're always constantly changing, right? When we think about survival of the fittest, they're capable of changing with their environment. So this is our little picture of a cell, kind of go back to freshman biology, right? When we have a bacterial infection, oftentimes we use antibiotics, right? These are important in getting rid of bacterial infections. A lot of times when we have viral infections, doctors will tell us, go home, wait it out, right? And typically the reason is because viruses are so small that they live inside of our cells. And a lot of times when our cells are damaged, medicine doesn't want to be able to cross the cell membrane. Essential oils, because they are so small in molecular size, because they are fat soluble or lipid soluble, they cross by something called passive diffusion, and they also have an independent traverse system, which really allows them to cross the cell membrane even if it's damaged. So sometimes when a medicine may fail, sometimes essential oils can actually be a little bit more effective because of this independent traverse system.
All right, so let's talk about how we use essential oils. We're going to stick with aromatic and topical use. You can ingest essential oils, but we highly suggest working with someone who knows what they're doing. We do offer those services, but we want to ensure safety, right? So we're going to talk about the 2 most common uses, which is aromatic and topical. So with aromatic use, there's a couple of things that we want to point out here. When you are diffusing it, so that means that you're using a machine that it diffuses into the air. What's great about essential oils is most of them purify the air, so that's fantastic. So if you're looking to kind of get rid of some of those toxins in the air, if you will, right, this helps to purify that. Most of them aid in respiratory function as well. So that's kind of an added bonus, or what Jessica and I always talk about is side benefits, right? Rather than side effects that are often come with medication. This is going to be, when you're taking it aromatically, it's the best way to affect your mood, okay? And the reason of that is because your limbic system controls your mood and your memory, okay? When I get to the next slide, I'll kind of show you how it works with regards to when you're breathing in, it goes through the nasal passages. How does that work? So I'll show you that here in a second. So just remember, if you're trying to affect your mood or your memory or cognition, you want to take it in aromatically, and that's going to impact your limbic system. When you are taking it aromatically, it reaches the brain within 22 seconds. So that's just wonderful, because when you think about an RX medication, it usually doesn't start working until 30 minutes from when you've ingested it. And so, from just this point in of itself, essential oils work quicker than medications. And at the close of 20 minutes, every cell in your body has been affected, which is great, okay? Other ways you can use aromatic, you don't have to do a diffuser, but it is the least intimidating we found. You see at the top right-hand corner, these little personal diffuser dots, we call them. They are felt on one side, sticky on the other. You put about 4 drops or so of the oil that you're using onto the felt side, and then you stick the pad in, like maybe your shirt collar or in your sweater, whatever it might be, so it's discreet, but yet you can smell it, and you're walking around with it all day, which is great because that can last up to 6 to 8 hours. You can also use diffuser jewelry, so a lot of people are familiar with that. You can put a couple of drops on the jewelry itself, the necklace or the bracelet that you're wearing, and you can breathe it in aromatically like that. Or we're going to talk about topical use here in a second. You can put it around your pulse points of your neck, and you're still taking it aromatically as well, and you're using it topically, okay? So those are a few ways you can use it from an aromatic standpoint. And what's great about this is within your limbic system, as I mentioned before, that's where your mood and memory is, particularly your amygdala is where your emotions are housed. And so it's directly influencing your amygdala, which can release any emotional trauma and things like that from the past, right? So here's that picture I was talking about. When you're breathing in essential oils aromatically, it goes into the nasal cavity, up to the olfactory bulb, and then it impacts your limbic system there. And again, that's where your amygdala is housed, which directly influences that mood or those emotions, right? And as Jessica had talked about, that what's great about essential oils is that they're highly semi-permeable. So they do impact the brain specifically, and then through the central nervous system. So topical use, when you're using topical use, you want to apply the oils to the area that you're trying to affect usually. So for example, if you're going to use oils for maybe a cut or a burn or pain, you would apply directly to that area. However, if you want it for mood, cognition, again, you would apply it to your pulse points around your neck, so you can take it in aromatically as well as it goes in through the bloodstream. When you're applying topically, you definitely want to dilute with a carrier oil. Carrier oils can be anything like almond oil, jojoba oil, fractionated coconut oil, right? So that way you're mixing it together and it goes onto the skin. Now, we highly recommend a patch test of some sort on your arm to make sure that there are no reactions, okay? So you will mix the carrier oil with the essential oils, and then you apply it to your arm and see within 24 hours if you have any red reaction or irritation. Now, if you hear anybody say you can use essential oils neat, meaning just the oil itself on your skin, please do not do that, because the #1 side effect of essential oils, and why we don't say that they're 100% safe, right, is because it can leave a little irritation on the skin. And so you want to make sure that you put that carrier oil to help protect the skin, but it also drives the oil deeper into the skin, which is great too. So it's, a bonus for there. When you're applying it topically, essential oils can actually be found in the bloodstream within 2 minutes. Okay, so it works a little slower than when you're taking it aromatically, but still very effective. So a little essential oil safety, very safe and gentle with minimal to no side effects. Minimal, again, we say because if we're not using them properly, we can have side effects. Keep them out of all orifices, eyes, ears, and nose. You do not need to put them there if you're having issues with those areas. You can apply them to areas around those areas and it will find its way to where it needs to go, okay? Again, dilute, as we had talked about. Make sure you do that skin sensitivity test. And sourcing is really key. The oils that Jessica and I use specifically, we make sure that we find them and get them from the lands indigenous. Okay, so for example, frankincense is found in Somalia. So we ensure that those oils come from Somalia if someone wants frankincense. A lot of oils on the market right now, unfortunately, are adulterated or contaminated because they're brought in by brokers. And, you know, they're allowed to and able to put things in those oils in order to sell it at a cheaper cost and be able to fill that bottle. Okay, so only 10% technically need to be the pure oil, and they can fill 90% with what they choose to fill it with. And then say on the label, of course, that it's a pure essential oil. And that's because they're not directed by the FDA. So you just want to make sure you do your research. Work with somebody who knows what they're doing. Work with someone who gets those oils from the lands indigenous. It's very important. So that way you're not, you know, contaminating your body, because the whole point of using oils is to get rid of those toxins, right? So we just say stay away from those oils that come off the shelf, like at Walgreens and Bath and Body Works and so on and so forth, right? Those are typically contaminated. And a lot of the stuff that you see like in the grocery store, like Febreze with lavender, right? A lot of that is synthetically based. And so it's not the pure oil. It may smell nice, but unfortunately you're still smelling in toxins and things like that. So please work with someone that knows what they're doing. So who can use essential oils? Really everybody. We work with so many different kinds of people that come from different walks of life. Now we work a lot in long-term care. We work a lot in hospital settings. So a lot of residents and patients use this to help with mood and memory. We also work with a lot of organizations who are looking to kind of improve their employee wellness. And so we do encourage that in an area of a company as well. We work with a lot of families where they want to bring it into their family. They want to use it with their children. They want to use it with maybe mom, dad who has dementia, so on and so forth. And so we work with those folks who are caregivers. And then of course for yourself, we talk about self-care so much that we want to ensure that you yourself have a regimen that works for you and is really tackling your health goals. Where do we implement this? We actually can implement it anywhere. So if it is for residents or patients, we can diffuse or use oils in their environment. And so sometimes if like they're in a long-term care facility, we might recommend diffusing in their room or using it, you know, with that person as part of their care plan. It might be in social areas of that long-term care facility. Some hospitals have taken this on as well and put them in kind of more common areas of the hospital setting, so on and so forth. You know, the intent with these individuals is make sure that we're getting the therapeutic benefit that they're looking for. If it's place of business, of course, typically we'll do it in like staff break rooms or maybe common areas where employees are. That way they're reaping the benefits of the essential oils. For families, we brought it in. Families often like to use oils, you know, in their living rooms, their dining rooms, their bedrooms, and so on and so forth, office areas, and so on and so forth. Sometimes if they're using it with their children, they'll put them in their backpacks to bring to school, you know, those kinds of things. And then for yourself, you know, it's where are you mostly in your home if you're going to be diffusing, or they're great to go on, you know, for on the go. So your purse, your pocket, those kinds of things as well. And how do we implement? So Jessica in a few minutes is going to go through a few oils that we highly recommend to get started. Again, keep in mind who are you using this for. Is it for a family member, for a patient, for yourself, whatever it might be? And what you're going to be doing is identifying health goals, 1 or 2 for that person or yourself. We're going to recommend that we implement that for 30 days because it does take about 4 to 6 weeks to start a habit, even a healthy one. And we want to make sure that the person using it or yourself are very comfortable using them with those few oils. Then once we've tackled that health goal, you're going to maybe add another health goal, and then there might be another regimen for that or a combination with something else that you're using. And so on and so forth until you get to be really comfortable. I mean, full admittingly, when I started using essential oils a number of years ago, I started off very small. I think I used maybe peppermint, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of lavender, and that's about it. And now if you saw my drawer, it's crazy. I think I probably have, I don't know, 70 oils in there. It's insane. So with that said, it took me, a while to kind of get ramped up. And then now my family uses it. And of course I use it with my patients, so on and so forth. And, Jessica her journey is the same way. So the intent here is be intentional about your interventions. What are your health goals? What can we treat? Don't just go all in and say, I'm going to try every single oil, because that can be overwhelming. Absolutely. Okay. So now Jessica's going to go in and talk a little about a few oils that we recommend getting started with.
All right, so let's talk about lemon essential oil. Very unintimidating, right? We're familiar with lemon. I think we're familiar with the fact that a lot of people like to squeeze lemons into their water. It's a natural diuretic, natural detoxifier. So squeezing, lemons in your water can be acidic. I like to use a drop or two of lemon in a lukewarm glass of water every morning. It's a great detoxifier. Also, lemon is a citrus, so it will invigorate the mind, and it's also a mood elevator. But it's also great for cleaning, right? This is something that you can put in a diffuser, and as Dr. Stelter had mentioned, you're purifying the air when you're using them, aromatically. So lemon has a chemical constituent called limonene, which is found in a lot of our hard surface cleaners. So this is something that we already are aware of is highly antibacterial. So this is a great thing to purify the air, make your own cleaners. So this can be used in a lot of different ways, but always use this very carefully. If you're going to put this on topically, as we had mentioned before, you always want to use a carrier oil. Because it is a citrus, do not wear this in the sun. It becomes photosensitive. Lavender essential oil. Lavender should be in everyone's purse and pocket. Lavender was the first oil that was ever discovered, and it is the most tested oil that is out there right now. Lots of clinical trials speak our language, so things like improving sleep. So this actually helps you not only to fall asleep, but to stay asleep. We always recommend diffusing this at night, because this will give you a consistent flow throughout the night, rather than wearing it topically, and after about 4 hours, it will metabolize through the body. Because you've gotten a better night's sleep, it's going to increase your daytime wakefulness. There was a study done with essential oil of orange, which improved cognition, produces EEG patterns characteristic of being comfortable. Lots of different responses, such as, evaluation of the heart rate and the mood, things like, lowering anxious feelings and pulse rate, and it can counteract negative emotions. One of the side benefits that we found with this is that when it's diffused at night, it actually promotes balance in the morning. So this can be really helpful, especially for our vintage community. It also soothes and moisturizes dry skin. It actually works as an antihistamine, a natural antihistamine, and can provide a cooling sensation to the body. So this is something that's very comforting to wear topically. Peppermint essential oil. Back in the 50s, I love this. Teachers used to give students mints, and it improved their mental fatigue, could focus the senses, invigorate the lungs, and really what that did was improved their test scores, right? So peppermint is a great thing to smell when you need to concentrate or focus on something. This is something great to put in a diffuser. It can actually reduce occasional head tension. It can open up and invigorate the lungs, so it's kind of opening up, and it has something called terpenes in it, specifically monoterpenes, and that chemical constituent is responsible for oxygenating the brain up to 28% more than it's currently getting. So this is a great thing to help to kind of get you focused and motivated to do different tasks. Frankincense is considered liquid gold in the essential oil world. We have like a little term that says, when in doubt, frank it out. Frankincense is very high in sesquiterpenes. Again, there's those terpenes, the chemical constituent that's responsible for oxygenating the brain and the limbic system. So, we want to support a healthy brain. This is a really good way to do so. It can promote mental clarity, mind stimulation, and memory function. I don't know anyone who doesn't need that. It's also great for anxious feelings because it calms and slows down the breath. This will actually provide a warming sensation to the body. And it's really responsible for helping to promote the immune system as well. In this day and age, this is an extra added side effect, side benefit that I think everybody needs. Tea tree essential oil. This is fantastic for wound healing. So can be a great topical to use, get a cut or a scrape or anything like that. But the other thing it does is it purifies it. So it's also a cleaning agent. This actually has antiviral properties. So a lot of times we use antibacterial soaps and cleaners. This can be something that you can add to your cleaners to provide a little bit of antiviral protection as well. So this can be something to add to your hard surface cleaners to kind of give a little added layer of protection. Oregano essential oil is considered nature's antibiotic. This is highly antibacterial. So this is something that should be used carefully. It is a hot oil, so if you put it on the body without any type of carrier oil, it will burn. So this should have a really high dilution rate. It cleanses the body. This is a really high antioxidant, so it's going to promote a healthy response to oxidation. This can support a healthy immune system. And a lot of people liken oregano, right? They like their herbs. A lot of people cook with them. So if you're familiar with that, the oregano essential oil is actually 50 to 70 times more powerful than its herb version. One of the things that we've found over the years is that essential oils go so much farther than I think the stigma that which they were before. We know that there is a lot of science backing them. We see that this can be a complement to Western medication. This can be something that you can use as an added layer of protection for yourself, whether it be your emotional or physical health. So this is something that goes beyond relaxation and spa treatments is what, and where I think a lot of people thought that its place was. So this is a really great way to help to support your system.
So a couple of resources we want to provide you with that really Jessica and I use on a regular basis. The Modern Essentials book is fantastic if you haven't seen that. We actually do provide it when someone does an individual consultation with us and decides to move forward with a regimen. But, it can be found in local bookstores, Amazon, those kinds of things. But what's great is you can look up the disease state or the concern area, and it will give you an oil regimen that has been associated with that. So we really haven't found a concern that an oil hasn't been successful with. Or you can look up the individual oils themselves in this book as well, which is great. The APRC is a research center where they do have a website. You can go to that website, and they actually ensure testing and safety of the oils that we use. And that's why we specifically go with a certain kind of oils that we use, because we know that there's testing being done. We know we're getting the purest oil, and we're backed by the APRC. So we want to make sure that you're familiar with that. You can go to their website and look at that as well. Also, we often, we're big into clinical trials. We want to make sure that these oils work, that they've been tested as well. And so we look up our clinical trials on PubMed, and we can find thousands of clinical trials related to essential oil use. So be rest assured that the information we provide you, that there is credibility behind it, because we've looked up those tests and things like that to ensure that the information there is credible. So in summary, really, with essential oils, tested, natural, extra layer of protection, right? We want to make sure, number one, that when you use when you're using aromatherapy, that that there's a variety of benefits, right? You can use them for mood and memory, but you can also use them for other things, whether it be cleaning your home or deciding, to tackle some medical concerns, those kinds of things. You want to choose oils that are free of adulteration and contamination, okay? So please stay away from oils that are on the local store shelf, right, if you will, and work with someone who knows what they're doing. So work with a knowledgeable provider and safely implement these to make sure that you're getting the therapeutic benefit that you're looking for, right? And everybody's body chemistry works a little bit different. So, you might start a regimen and maybe not feel a little bit different, and we tweak a little bit to make sure we are headed towards the direction of the goal that you're looking for, right? What's great about essential oils and what you found, with a lot of the non-pharmacological tools that we educate and talk about with people is that it really is empowering, because you're putting these tools in your hands to cope, or tools in your hands to reach that goal that you're looking for from a health benefit standpoint. And it really makes people feel like, wow, I am taking control over my own health. And it really is impactful, especially when using essential oils. So we highly recommend that.